Philadelphia 76ers president of basketball operations Daryl Morey. That the team has acquired D'Anthony Melton in a trade with the Memphis Grizzlies. Despite not having many avenues for improvement this offseason, the team came away from the NBA draft, the first major event of the offseason, with an acquisition who can help them win now. The team pulled the trigger on a draft night trade bringing Memphis Grizzlies reserve guard D'Anthony Melton to Philadelphia. Before going straight to the content here.is, the brand new information on the channel is that 3 lucky winners will get a chance to win PS5. Only you have to just comment your views on this trade in the comments section below. Let's start today's topic. Acquiring Melton cost the Sixers veteran wing player Danny Green, whose $10 million salaries for next season was non-guaranteed, and the number 23 overall pick in the NBA draft, which turned into David Roddy. The move will certainly help improve the Sixers roster, but it is just a good start and more improvements are still needed, especially at the wing positions. Before moving forward, now would be a good moment to walk through the Sixers' salary cap situation heading into free agency. The team is already over the projected $122 million salary cap for the 2022-23 season. Following the Melton trade, they have about $151 million owed to 13 players. This leaves them $4 million below the $155 million apron threshold, which only comes into play if the team chooses to use the full, non-taxpayer mid-level exception, NTMLE, the biannual exception, BAE, or acquire a player through a sign-and-trade deal. And coming back to the Sixers is Anthony Melton, a former second-round pick out of USC who last year did have some positive moments with the Memphis Grizzlies. One of the best upstart teams in the NBA, played alongside John Moran, and he was a perfect rotational player. But because of that knee injury that he suffered in Game 6 in the second-round series against the Miami Heat, wasn't going to be available until around the All-Star break. So a couple of pluses there for Philadelphia looking to improve that bench. Is one of the big calling cards that the Sixers needed to answer going to the end of the offseason, and Dr. Anthony Melton can certainly help there. So as far as Anthony Melton last year with Memphis, nearly 11 points per game. 4.5 rebounds, shot about 40% from the field and about 38% from beyond the yard. He can be a microwave scorer, and at times Memphis had relied on him to be a go-to guy as one of those third scoring options when neither John Moran wasn't playing. Because he missed a lot of time when Desmond Bane went a little bit cold, or they needed that spark plug player to come in off the bench and give the Grizzlies a little bit of that scoring output. It was certainly a glaring need for Philadelphia to go up against a team like Miami. Not only were they well coached, but not only did they have the best player in the series and Jimmy Butler, because of Joel Embiid, were injured, but they were able to wear Philadelphia down over time because that second unit for the Sixers was lackluster. However, multiple reports in recent weeks have the Sixers going after free agent, forward PJ Tucker with a reported 3-year, $30 million contract. The only way the Sixers could offer Tucker that contract would be to use the $10.35 million NTMLE. Doing that would require clearing, at the absolute minimum, $7.5 million to remain under the apron threshold. This could be done in theory if the team was able to find teams who can absorb Furkan Korkmaz, $5 million, and Matisse Thybulle, $4.379 million. However, in that scenario, the Sixers would be nearly right up against the apron threshold, which would act as a hard cap after the usage of the NTMLE, with only 12 players on the roster and no flexibility for any in-season moves. There are 2 other potential ways the Sixers can clear the necessary cap space to use the NTMLE. Perhaps the most likely option would be to ship out Tobias Harris. The veteran forward is set to make $37.633 million next season, and there are not many teams capable of taking on his contract, 2 years, $76.903 million remainings. If the Charlotte Hornets fail to retain Miles Bridges in free agency, they could potentially be a team the Sixers could ship Harris to. As Brian Toporek of Forbes Sports dives into, the Sixers could trade Harris to Charlotte for Gordon Hayward, $30.075 million caps hit next season. This would put the Sixers $11.5 million under the apron with 13 players on the roster, freeing up them to use the NTMLE while also having money to fill out the roster with one player on the veteran minimum. One or two small corresponding moves, trading Korkmaz's $5 million cap hit or trading Isaiah Joe's $1.782 million caps hit, can also be made to free up a bit of breathing room under the apron. This move would be a major gamble for the Sixers due primarily to Hayward's durability issues. He played in an average of 48 games over the last 3 seasons. However, it would be worth the risk due to the combination of his good fit with the team and the opening up of the NTMLE. Another way for the Sixers to free up space to use the NTMLE is if James Harden takes less money on a contract extension and elects to opt out of his $47.4 million player option for next season. This is not very likely as multiple reports have stated Harden is planning to opt into the player option. However, if he changes his stance and decides to take less money on an extension, the Sixers could very easily free up enough money to use the NTMLE without having to make any other corresponding moves. The prevailing theory among some coming out of the draft was the Sixers, after trading for Melton, would begin to lean away from attempting to open up enough space for the NTMLE. Morey probably deserves the benefit of the doubt after making the Green and Curry trades a few seasons ago because both of those deals worked out. The Sixers did not win a title with those players, but they won a lot of games and gave their star players every opportunity to succeed, which did not happen. Melton has some things to prove. He was in and out of the rotation for the Grizzlies in the playoffs. But he was acquired for a reasonable price and contributed to a winning team last season with his prime years likely ahead. However, the team is still reported to be the heavy favorites among rival teams to sign Tucker to a 3-year, $30 million contract using the NTMLE once free agency begins, according to Mark Stein's latest Substack newsletter. Whether or not the Sixers can clear up enough space to use the NTMLE, Morey will be looking to make the most out of what is, for now, the limited options he has heading into free agency. There is still a lot of off-season left and this move is only part of the puzzle. But on draft night, the Sixers decided to target a defensive upgrade whose skill set complements their key players. That feels like a decent use of limited resources. So what do you think of this trade? Do let us know in the comments section below and get a chance to win a brand new PS5. If you enjoyed watching the video, do like and share, and yes, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Thank you so much.